Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of the podcast Strikes Back. My name is George, and you're listening to our worst of the year so far with the boys Connor and Benny.
Hi there.
Well, folks, go check out our best of the year so far. We've got our top 5 picks in the first 6 months of 2019.
We're sober.
No, sorry, it's just the way that you'd like turn around. You're like, hello there.
Hello,
Hello, bloodies.
Yeah. Fava beans.
Yeah, listen, we've been drinking. Go check out the first part, the best of the year. Now it's going to get pretty savage, or reasonably savage, with our picks of what really just didn't work. Just didn't
Reasonably
work.
savage. I like that.
Reasonably savage.
We're gonna be savage, but
I
we're
think
gonna be
this is something
reasonable
we've been talking about off air, wherein there's a lot of mediocre films
Yep.
Yes.
in here. We've reviewed 20 or so movies this year, not including all the other ones we've seen. And it's just like, it's not the best, it's not the worst, just somewhere in the middle. And there's been a lot of that this year.
Which kind of makes it the worst year because there's just no huge highlights or lowlights. It's just so middling.
Average.
Yeah.
So let's jump into number 5, Benny.
Okay, number 5 for myself is Velvet Buzzsaw, directed by Dan Gilroy.
Interesting.
Netflix film, yeah. This kind of speaks to how dispassionate I am with so many films this year because I didn't hate this movie, but it was a massive disappointment for me. I just feel like so many bloody Netflix movies, it did not amount to anything. It threw so much at the wall and had such a great trailer and just kind of, I don't know, languished in mediocrity.
Yeah, and it dissolved and
it
farted around.
It seemed
the
like
end.
it wanted to say a lot, and then in the end, it was just like, oh yeah, criticism is bad.
It's like,
okay, whatever.
oh, look at this tattoo. Oh my God.
Yeah, like it like I think I said in the initial review we did, it was like an unfunny comedy or an unscary horror movie, and I couldn't pick which. So it's kind of a big problem either way.
I'm just going to say this is my number 5 as well.
Oh, fuck yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I found this really kind of in the middle for me. So I didn't hate it enough, and I didn't think there was enough egregious about it to put it in the top or the bottom 5. There's some really cool stuff I found in this, and but
good performances.
Not enough to really jump it up into honorable mentions or the top 5.
Yeah.
Very much kind of middle of the pack.
Jake Gyllenhaal was fantastic in this. I
He's
really liked his
terrific,
character.
yeah.
And I think what was most disappointing about this was how good some parts were. And then some parts, and towards the end, I was like, wow, this has really gone off track.
Yeah, what was
Like,
it? Hobo Man, the animatronic
yeah, he
dude?
was great.
He was an all-timer. If this movie was good and they'd utilized him a bit more, that would have been amazing.
The
Oh,
rules were
so
just
good,
not
right?
very well laid out.
No, not at
and
all.
It was kind of like got to the point where it was
Even
sort
by
of
horror movie standards.
throwing shit at a wall.
Yeah.
And like, I'm willing to go on the ride, man. Like, take me wherever you want. But this,
If it had been
nah.
scary, sure. Like the mechanics of it don't matter too much, but this was so tame.
And there was a really great opportunity with the old man artist character. And they didn't explore that. And it just, yeah.
It was a bit of a like I said, the trailer was so good, and
Yeah.
that really hurts the film when you're
trailer's up
expecting
here
something
and
really good. Yeah.
Yeah.
And this is a follow up to Nightcrawler, which was amazing, also starring Jake Gyllenhaal.
Oh, that's right. I forgot that. God,
Yeah.
that makes it even worse.
Yeah, it's just as like a huge horror movie fan, especially because those are the movies that can go anywhere and do anything.
Yeah.
This one was just like nothing's
Yeah.
happening.
I would have loved to have seen more of that art scene exploration because that was really interesting in it.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Honestly, I don't have anything bad or like I've got some good stuff, bad stuff. But like it's
In the middle.
really sitting in the middle for me,
Mm.
and not in a bad way. Right. So my number 5 was Detective Pikachu.
Oh
Whoa.
damn!
Not because
Number 5.
I know
Because of the last 20 minutes.
because of the last half. Yeah. Honestly, I think that, and this is the problem. I didn't hate this film. That's my caveat. I think that there's a lot of stuff about this film was done really excellently, particularly the first 30 minutes. I fucking loved. I thought it was really good. The reason it is on my top 5, for a similar reason that some of my honorable mentions are my top 5. Like for example, I made an honorable mention for Alita Battle Angel for the things that it did right. This Detective Pikachu is on this list for the things that it did wrong.
Yeah, I could flip those easily.
Yeah.
Like in that situation.
And that for me is so unacceptable because for a movie, it was a really weird movie-going experience to be so enamored with a film for the first half and then to really drop off that heavily in the second half.
Yeah.
It was almost like
It's two different movies.
Sometimes a film kind of I take Velvet Buzzsaw as a film that gradually kind of devolves like over time, but I felt like Detective Pikachu was like scene to scene, like something switched in that middle scene when they're going back to the Mewtwo lab.
Yeah.
And it's like a switch flicked and it was a completely different movie.
Yeah, it went from very strong to like, oh, this is terrible.
This is like, this could be a cartoon. You know, this is not at that same level of world building and sophistication at the front end.
And as a movie, like I said, as a movie going experience, that's a very odd thing to have happen. I mean, and like it wasn't even like, I just don't even know how to handle that. And it has left such a sour taste in my mouth.
Because I felt like with this one, it did enough right for me that it's not in the best, not in the worst.
And I mean, that's completely valid.
Yeah.
You know, like like I said, that first half is so solid.
Yeah.
Yeah. But the reason it's here is because of that second half.
We need to drink more because we're agreeing
So
really well. We don't normally do that.
We're all like,
lists are vastly different.
Yeah.
And I fear that the next four probably won't be
I
that.
fear that I'm going to have the same list as you, Ben.
Well, your last ones were
Velvet Buzzsaw, yeah.
Velvet Buzzsaw, yeah.
My list is very, like, I wrote them down. I was looking at them today. I didn't really rank them because I was like, I feel pretty much the same about all of these. So my next one that I'm going to pick is Neil Marshall's Hellboy, which is a movie that I think at its worst was easily the worst film to be released in cinemas this year. Like, holy fuck, what were they thinking with so much of this? But I didn't hate it, and there was a lot of this movie I kind of enjoyed as well.
Very cool scenes. The Baba Yaga scene.
Awesome.
Totally.
Awesome scene.
There was a lot from a production standpoint that I appreciated. The makeup, just the attempt to do something as wacky as this, I kind of liked. It was a massive disappointment, not based on the trailers because they look terrible, but going in, what they were spouting, which was all complete lies, obviously, but Neil Marshall and co. like talking about wanting to make a more true to the comics Hellboy reboot, you know, with more of a horror kind of thing going on. None of that eventually made it to screen. But again,
I
was really drunk when I watched
that. That
this.
was the weird thing as well. Like they sold second best because I think that what everyone wanted to see was a continuation of Del Toro's universe. And they were like, hey, we'll sell you the second best thing, which is still pretty cool. We're going to do an original kind of telling, or not an original telling, a telling of the original story or the kind of feel of the comic books and that. And they didn't even deliver on that.
No,
can you imagine just selling mediocre and then still delivering just shit?
That was the real disappointing thing, is that they just made something that felt so tonally similar to the Del Toro films, which were already pretty far removed from the comics.
Yeah.
And I like the Del Toro movies, but I love the comics. So it just a real kind of kick to the area for that.
I think you're allowed to say dick on this podcast.
What?
Wait.
I have to
we got clearance on dick.
I have to completely.
I was talking about my shoulder.
I'm talking about my face.
I like how you're just now like thinking about all the podcasts that you could have been saying dick on, and you're just like, damn it.
You guys
So
have this
many
on your
missed
list, right?
Yeah, spoilers, this is higher on my list.
What are
Yeah.
you talking about?
Connor?
What?
Got this on the list? You must have this.
Why
You
would
got
I?
this. Okay.
Why
So
would
I just wanted, because just so I can put this to bed for now, because I have more to say about it, but we can move on.
Yeah. We've got plenty to say.
Yeah.
My number 4 is Glass.
Wait.
I was actually kind of favorable on when we reviewed this.
I was going to put this in there, but I didn't.
I think the reason that I put it in there was because this movie, the more I think about it, the more I kind of reflect upon it, it just doesn't live up to Split effectively. That's his biggest failing.
You haven't seen Unbreakable.
I haven't seen Unbreakable,
So,
right?
spoilers, this is on my list as well. Imagine having seen both of those films and liking both of them a lot. This movie fucking sucks.
So, and I figured that it would be at least higher on yours, if not yours, George.
Yeah, this is an honourable mention for me, the spoilers.
But I found that, the more I thought about it, this is one that's kind of steadily declined for me. But the more I thought about it, the more I just felt as though it didn't live up to the hype of.
I feel like
this one very quickly declined.
I feel like this
Yeah.
one actually went up a little bit for me.
Wow.
Because I was
You're very-
really disappointed in
Yeah.
it. And I watched a few reviews, and I saw a few different opinions, and I thought about it. And it went from, I hate this, to, I guess
Whatever.
it didn't work out.
Yeah.
And there's a
That's
few
almost like
interesting ideas in there. Like, yes, M. Night hits you over the head with a fucking megaton hammer with the themes like, do you get what this movie's about? Yes, M. Night, you've explained it.
Oh
I
my
get
god!
it.
When Anya Taylor-Joy goes into the comic book shop and is like, who invented superheroes?
Yeah.
Where did they come from? There's like a speech about Superman. Holy fuck!
Yeah.
Like I said, I didn't really rank my list. This could easily be number one for me.
Really?
Yeah,
I figured.
This was
I mean, this
awful.
shows you, like, 1 minute you think M. Night's, he's the fucking man, and the studio fucked him over, and he's in the machine, and then you get Split, and you're like, then you get Glass, and you're like, yeah.
But that's the thing. Like, nothing
guess that's not
about
the
a
case.
disappointing M. Night Shyamalan movie really surprises me. Like, that's kind of like, oh yeah, here's a guy that is like, his strategy is hit and miss. Like, he's got some really cool films out there. He's got some absolute stinkers, and you're like, when he fucks it up, you're like, oh, yeah, well.
I rewatched the previous two films in the lead up to this movie and was so impressed with
Same.
Bruce Willis in Unbreakable.
It was a yawn fest in this.
This, I would absolutely give him the award for most disengaged performance in a movie in ever.
Yeah, he gets the no fucks given award.
Was ridiculous.
Yeah.
This,
David Dunn as a character, butchered. And the death, like, spoilers, the death scene,
Yeah, who cares?
just a horrible way for that
Yeah,
character
it was the worst of Shyamalan's impulses. It was a death scene just completely in service of a twist. The Secret Society, and this is
oh my god,
horrible.
the Secret Society.
Yeah.
You know what? All I'll say though is at least it was original. At least he fucking, like, maybe he didn't nail it, but at least he went for it. And
Yeah,
like,
I will say I was not unentertained watching the film, but after two movies I really liked. Such a letdown.
Yeah, and that's why I preface that by saying that the thing that really lets this film down is the more I think about it and the more I compare it with Split, it just feels like such a lackluster follow-up.
Yeah. Number 4 for your boy George. We went to see this, Benny, after you went to see Shazam with Connor. It's a little film
wow.
called
Really?
Pet Cemetery.
Okay.
That bad?
Pet Cemetery, man. Like, so the context to this is like how much that original freaked me out.
Yeah.
And
I still gotta watch that.
maybe I'm putting that on too much of a pedestal, but
I
this was a
think you are.
massive disappointment.
That's a shame.
It had some really strong components, especially with the wife and the sister and those scenes.
Yeah, the wife's flashbacks to her
my
dealing with the sister were
God.
fucking terrifying.
That was brilliant. And then the rest of the film, like, it just did not hit that same mark.
So I'm gonna let you finish, but I would really this movie is absolutely saved from the bottom 5 for me because just those flashback scenes were so intense. Some of the scariest stuff I've seen this year, and the young girl who played the undead lead, I thought was really good and really unnerving.
I think that, like, yes, those scenes were really strong, but what brings it all down for me was like, why wasn't everything at that level?
Yeah.
So you know what I mean? Like, why was the sub story the strong part?
Yeah.
Why wasn't the main story the strong part?
Yeah.
And that's where I come at it from. And as a fan of how well these Stephen King stories are being told right now with
Dark Tower.
You beat me to it.
It's,
We got to bring this up every
Yeah.
time we do one of
Game.
these.
It's Gerald's Game.
Yeah.
I mean, The Shining. 39 years ago. We're on a run here, people.
Yeah. They're killing it. They're killing
I'd
it.
also like to mention my third pick, which is Dark Tower, because fuck that movie.
The Dark Tower.
That's actually my number 1 as well.
Yeah.
Wasn't that our thing? Was going to be like every
year.
No,
one.
because last time when we did the 12-month. No, when we did
The end of 2018 one.
Yeah, and because I think that's a 2017 film.
Yeah, it was.
I was like, I apologize, but I'm gonna have to
DuckTale.
mention that one again
Yeah.
because fuck that movie.
DT.
The worst. God.
Oh,
The worst thing that we've been involved with since we've been doing this. I swear to God.
I don't know, man. I wish Pet Sematary had been at that same level as Gerald's game.
I was disappointed by it, but I was also impressed by it in certain aspects. So I spared it from my list.
Yeah. He has not been spared.
I feel like if that movie had another 20 minutes on it that were really great,
It
I would have been
finished so
very... It ended so
quickly.
abruptly, and I'd heard so much about a certain element from the books that people expected to be in the movie. So that's on me for going in with expectations. How dare I? But that really... it ended so suddenly. I was like, oh, okay, that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Numéro
Well,
trois.
number 3 is David Yarovesky's Brightburn.
I was wondering if this
Another
would be
one
on
that
the list,
only
yeah.
I've been subjected to because
Yeah,
I tell
poor
you
man.
guys when not to watch movies.
Yeah.
I've always got to
That
be
was,
the test
that was one of
subject.
those ones because I was definitely going to go see that.
Yeah,
and
me too.
It just got to that when I remember because you had just seen it the day before and you were like, don't do it.
Just,
Yes. Yeah.
just go
So
save your afternoon, have a nap.
So
You'll enjoy it more.
the trailers leading up to this movie, I thought it looked kind of cheap and terrible. And then I watched the movie and I completely agreed with my initial assessment. It was the laziest attempt at the premise that it was looking at possible, which is, what if Superman but evil? It was essentially just a demonic possession movie, but with comic book roots. Like, there is no nuance whatsoever.
Did it seem insincere?
It seemed insincere.
Okay. Fuck.
Yeah.
Nailed
Well, because I
it.
remember you mentioning that like the mother would like watch her son do something terrible and then just act normal.
And
the
it would
next
just
scene.
So
reset.
scene to scene, it committed the worst sin that horror movies often do, which is like something amazingly horrible would happen and the next scene would start and it's like a fresh start.
Yeah,
like it's
exactly.
the criticism that like
we're
paranormal
just
activity
living
and
in
shit
this.
gets.
We're just living in this house as per normal, and you're like, no, you just watch someone like get torn in half. How are you not like
yeah.
fucking freaking out? And that this is a weird tangent, but that's what I loved about The Conjuring. About like how there's scenes about them like sleeping in a room together, like they're acknowledging that this shit is fucked up.
Yeah.
Even in Insidious 1, they're like, we're moving house, motherfuckers.
Yeah, like
and
we're
they
getting the
move.
hell out of here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And-
that's in the first 15 minutes, isn't
Yeah.
it? They're like, nah, bye.
And I'm an easy sell for that shit because, like I said, paranormal activity gets labeled with that, and I justify it. I'm like, yeah, because in real life, no matter how weird shit gets, you
kind of, yeah.
explain to yourself like, no, you're just being fucking crazy and
If
paranoid.
you see your
It's
kid
fine.
flying around and
But
you know,
yeah,
fucking people up.
in this movie, the shit that happens in it is like, okay, this is
Just looking,
much.
looking with more concern. It's like just something to trigger, to give you indication that character has acknowledged what happened in the previous scene.
yeah. And as I mentioned, the absolute worst sin is just that the kid. I swear to God, they threaten to make him interesting for like 30 seconds, and then it's just straight up. No, he's brainwashed by the ship that he was brought to Earth with.
Right.
He's just evil. He's evil. He loves being evil, and that's all
it.
good. Yeah, it's a really
That's sad.
uninspired take on it. So boring. It has some unbelievably intense gore in it, which surprised me. But
Was that fun?
not in a good way.
What was
there?
it?
There was one really funny scene. There was one really funny kind of inventive scene, and that was the only takeaway I had from the film.
What was the general consensus to that, like in terms of Rotten Tomatoes?
I heard a
kinda
very similar
sucked.
thing from
Yeah.
other reviewers as well. It was very uninventive. Very,
Yeah.
Fair enough, man.
This has been too amicable so far. Gotta really throw something in the mix.
Yeah, I'm going to throw one of your favorite movies on here, Connor,
Yeah.
just for the hell of it.
Endgame.
Just for the hell of
Number
it,
one, Ben Smith. Endgame.
Hey, number 2.
Um, so I really I did a very similar thing to you. I just kind of did 5 movies, and there wasn't a particular. There's a kind of a general sense.
I'm with you.
But my bottom 3, I find it really difficult, mainly because I don't think that there's been something that I've watched this year that I've just been like, this is the worst.
Yeah.
So, having said that, I'm going to put Dark Phoenix as my number 3
What?
because
That's fair. That's fair.
Dark Phoenix.
That's not fair.
I genuinely
Some fair.
I'm
think.
contesting this.
I genuinely
You're
think
jumping
had
on
some,
that fucking
Veto.
bandwagon, Connor.
had some really cool stuff in it. Like there is some really enjoyable stuff about Dark Phoenix. I think as a whole, I wouldn't call it a good movie. And when I compared it to all the movies that I have seen in the last well, in the last 6 months, whatever it's been, it certainly doesn't. It has absolutely no business in being at the top half. It has, on a good day, you can maybe try and get me onto it being on the honorable mentions, but yeah, like I think that it at the end of the day, it probably deserves to be in the bottom 5.
Yeah, it's not unfair. The movie does enough wrong that I can absolutely see why you'd be talking about it. I kept it off both my lists and honorable mentions because I'm so split on it. Like, there's stuff in that movie that is some of my favorite stuff this year, such as Hans Zimmer's score.
The score
for it.
alone.
Score is awesome. Yeah.
Like, that absolutely saves it for me.
That saved it.
Just the direction, I think, is really strong, which is so unpopular to say.
But the other movies that I kind of placed in that, there are like 5 or 6 films this year that are bad films, but that I got some weird enjoyment out of.
Yeah.
Like, and Dark Phoenix feels like it belongs in that list, but Dark Phoenix, I felt like on a credential list had the most kind of wrong with it, that I felt it had to go in here. I mean, I could have, spoiler alert, Aladdin doesn't make my bottom 5, so I could have easily swapped out Aladdin with Dark Phoenix, because those were both movies I went into expecting for them to be train wrecks. I expected them to be dog shit, and I came out being like, I mean, they weren't good, but like, hell, they were a lot more enjoyable than I thought they'd be.
It's kind of a nice feeling. When something subverts your expectations,
Yeah.
even if those expectations are, this is going to be the worst
Like,
thing I'm going to see this year.
I mean, in that sense, I should just go to every movie expecting it to be the worst thing, and then
That would be a good way to go in.
Yeah. But
Yeah, I mean, like, Dark Phoenix was... I'm surprised people dislike that movie as much as
Me
they
too.
do.
I think a big part of it is a lot of people haven't seen it. We've seen the box office performance. It did terribly.
Yeah.
It's been completely pulled from cinemas.
Yeah, what is it? 1,200 screens in America in a week?
Yeah.
On the 3rd week of release or something?
3rd week, yeah. Because the director in like the 2nd week came out and said, yeah, I fucked up. So I hate to be that guy, but I honestly believe a lot of people haven't seen that movie because the numbers bear that out.
But that's what happens with these reviews. These reviews come out the night before and it's like, that movie is dog shit. And then nobody turns up.
That's the narrative, yeah.
But I mean, like, I watched the film.
Yeah, no, I'm not.
Like,
I'm
let's
not,
not-
I'm
No,
not saying
talking
about you.
I'm just talking about the general, like, it's so interesting
No, I
how
know.
that whole movie's been released and how it's gone down. And
Yeah.
Like-
I mean, it doesn't deserve to be like wildly praised. Like our
But it doesn't deserve to be called the worst
was-
film of the year, which
Yeah.
it seemed like it would on the way in.
I know this doesn't deserve the top spot,
Mm.
but I don't think any movie that I watched this year really deserves the top spot.
Mm.
Oh, there's one that there's one that definitely does, but like,
stay tuned, people.
Interested,
It's
yeah.
coming.
yeah.
Little sizzle on the steak for you.
Are we number 3?
Number 3.
Number 3, Men in Black International.
Oh well, I stand corrected.
I didn't hate this much as you guys, but as like the hours passed, I started to hate it more and more and
Good.
more and more.
I started to
And
forget it more and more.
I got this
I did
ad.
both.
Got this ad on my Facebook, and it was like, "Remember Men in Black with Will Smith and Tommy Lee Jones? Those are available on iTunes and all those other favorite platforms for you to deliver that movie content and consume it." And I was like, "Fuck, man, that first one rocked." And this one was such.
I won't buy it, but I remember it.
I want to watch it again, but
Hell
Do
yeah.
you? Do you want to put yourself through that?
the first one, the
No,
original.
I know exactly. Knowing where it ends. Do you want to do that?
No, knowing that it gets to Chris Hemsworth and Tessa Thompson. Yeah,
Who
man,
again?
like,
We're not the most egregious part of this film.
This is it's just like it's like I actually can't say it.
It is the
I can't say
most
it.
blockbuster. Like, we've got an IP that's strong.
Cookie cutter,
Yeah.
let's cast popular actors,
Yeah, it
put
is-
it by the numbers script.
And we're
That's
gonna
exactly
go.
it.
We're gonna go to Morocco, and we're gonna go to Paris, and
Yep.
one other location.
Yep.
Whoever the fuck in whatever the fuck meeting thought that making Men in Black international was a selling point is mind blowing
Like-
to me. This is a galactic franchise. This is
And you're
about
like,
the
"Ooh,
universe.
we're
This
gonna
is
go
one
to
of the-
fucking
This
Europe."
is one of the highest minded blockbuster franchises ever to exist. The first movie ends with the entire universe or galaxy existing in a marble.
Yeah.
And this is like, we're going to Morocco.
Was it that one or the second one that ends? No, it'd be the second one that ends with them being in a locker room.
You know, okay, yeah.
But like, did somebody tell them that like North Africa, Paris, and London Morocco. It's like it's in a very close vicinity to each other, people. Like it's right there.
Yeah.
You know, like there's a 2-hour plane ride to get to all those
But I think it would
destinations.
have almost been worse if they had gone from like Paris to like Cape Town and then to like
bring it on.
then to China and then Australia. Can
Bring
you,
it the
can you
fuck
imagine how
on.
bad that would have been if they were like they go to Australia and
At
they're
least it
like,
would have given the
oh, look at
some
the funny-
credence to the title.
Wouldn't it have been fun, especially with that title, if Chris Hemsworth had played an Australian?
What?
Wouldn't
No.
that have made the movie better?
No,
Oh.
he's English.
Yeah, but it would have been fun if he was Aussie.
But wouldn't that have been a cool angle?
Ben's like,
for them
what
to
if he
take?
was Australian?
But what
but
if?
he's English.
Did you just repeat what we said?
It's just funny how that all went down.
I heard
Have you not heard him play Thor?
Heard
English, right?
an interesting take on the movie, which I didn't even consider, and I feel so dumb for not having even thought of. What if the movie was Chris Hemsworth's character was Agent J, and Liam Neeson's character was K? Like, what if they'd made a proper MIB4 that had the same events happening in the film, but with those characters? I think that would have been really interesting and really kind of much more emotional than what they were trying to do with this movie.
So a bit more of a reboot of the first one, like retreading the first one.
No, just
Wait,
no. It
what?
would have been continuing their story. Like Jay is here, but he's not the hero that he used to be. Like you would have actually had some history to
Right.
Yeah.
build that character on.
But isn't that what happened in
it-
3?
Fuck, sorry, but it makes me think that
fair
maybe
enough.
they actually intended that at some point, because I know that they wanted Will Smith for this, but he was too expensive.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I think that could have been a more interesting movie. Not good necessarily, but
It
much
certainly would have
more,
been a more interesting one,
much
yeah.
more engaging. Yeah,
I think you would have gotten
because you think about the story beats that they go through in this
Yeah.
movie that are meant to be emotional, and you do not give a single shit.
I think you would have gotten a lot of people railing against that because a major selling point of the franchise in general is their relationship. And that, I mean, I
But
don't
wouldn't that have
think-
been such a bold move? What happens with Liam Neeson and Chris Hemsworth characters in that movie? Like, imagine how much you actually would have felt if they had done that with pre-established characters. That actually could have been interesting, I think.
100%.
I mean, it would have made a
Hmm.
lot more sense, like for the ending. It would have made it a lot more emotional.
Yes.
Made it a lot more kind of. It would just. It would matter.
Yeah, which it
Effectively.
did not
Not
in
the
the
slightest,
final
yeah.
product.
And the box office shows that it did not matter.
Thank bloody God. I've never been happier for a movie to be like poorly critically reviewed and poorly performing.
Yeah.
You cynical
I hate to say that,
bastard.
yeah. My next two are ones we've talked about extensively so far, unfortunately. My number two is Glass, which
Glass.
which was
Glass.
so
Shattered
such a
glass.
bizarre movie and kind of interesting in a way, but also really exhausting in how on the nose and like pretentious in a really dumb way that it was.
Yeah.
Really bothered me.
And M. Night at the beginning turning up and he's like,
Oh, yes, that was the
hey,
thing.
you work at the, you used to
He-
work at the stadium.
Stadium.
I
right?
knew
You were
that
security, right?
I knew that,
38,000 years ago.
so he cameos in all of his films. I knew going in that he would have to find a way to connect the two characters he played
Yeah.
in Unbreakable and Split
What does he
to
do
be
in
the
Split
same
again?
character. In Split, he's a which one's which? He's a
Wait, in
Unbreakable. He works in the store.
in Unbreakable, he
No,
tries
he's
to
a,
get into
he's
the
a drug
stadium.
dealer in the
Yeah.
stadium.
Yeah.
And he's a security guy in Split.
Yeah, that's right. That's
he's a
right.
security
Yeah.
monitor
And in
guy. Yeah.
Unbreakable, I think
He works in a store, I think.
No, he works a store in
Glass.
In
Glass.
Glass.
Yeah, and he's the
In
yeah.
Split, what is he though?
And he's a security guy.
Okay. That's
And he recognizes David Dunn from 18 years before.
yeah.
And
look,
it's
I
just
mean,
like
busted him.
hand-fisted slapping you over the fucking, you know, that bit of your head just above your neck,
Yeah.
and just below, like just here, just like a ruthless slap.
Now this movie's
like,
not in your bottom five, right?
no, it's not.
Wait, how did that
what the fuck am I talking about?
Yeah, like so disappointing, so predictable. Or predictable is maybe a weird word. The way that the movie, it spends half an hour trying to convince the characters that they're not super.
That was horrible.
And it tries to convince the audience as well. And it's like, no, we've watched two movies where these guys are pretty fucking super. And then by the end of the movie, it's like, yes, they are super, but in such a pointless way that is meant to be
The twist.
inspiring and amazing.
Yeah.
Like you see this viral video go at the end of things that like no one would give a shit
The
about.
problem is the twist would have been that they actually weren't super.
That would have been bold. Yeah, that would have been interesting.
That would have been something that you were like...
Do more of
I
a
mean, like,
psychological thing. Yeah,
it would have been... Like, it would have been almost predictable in the sense of, you know, M. Night
Twist.
Shyamalan has to do a
Yeah.
twist.
Yeah.
Which he did anyways, you know, whoop-dee. But I think that it would have at least made sense, or it would have at least made the effort at the beginning to mean something.
I don't know why I didn't put this in my top 5. No, you think that's that bottom 5?
I'm a big Shyamalan apologist, to be honest, but this movie.
You know what? You know
sucked.
what shat me about that movie was exactly what you just said. They were trying to convince the audience that James McAvoy did not possess those powers.
Yeah,
And I was like, "What the fuck are you doing, M. Night?"
yeah.
Like there is some interesting thread there, it's just not being presented in the best way possible.
Yeah, honestly, do you remember the first fight scene in that movie?
I
That's
didn't
when
hate
it
it as
lost
much
me.
as you guys.
I thought it was terrible.
I didn't hate it as much as
when
you guys.
when David Dunn confronts the Beast,
Yeah.
and it's just like it was laughable. Like
He's
you
got
could
those
see how
4
low budget that
cheerleaders
movie
or
was.
something,
Yeah.
It wasn't good.
Number 2, Connors.
My number 2 was Hellboy.
That's my number 2 as well.
Very
Yeah,
fair.
sweet. So I mean, I
think I know what number 1 is. Holy shit!
well, you can see my screen.
I can't. My eyes aren't
but,
that good.
Can't say anything right now.
But I mean, like for Hellboy, I almost feel bad for kind of putting it here. It's had a rough ride.
It's actually just for me. It's gradually crept up. It was at number 4, and it's gradually crept up.
Yeah, for me, it was like I don't know how to not put it in my bottom 5, and all the other ones that I had in my bottom 5 kind of ranked above it. Like I got more enjoyment out of Dark Phoenix than I got out of Hellboy. Like I found this list so hard to compile. Like I don't know.
Those are very similar too.
Yeah.
Much more than the top 5.
Definitely.
And so for this one, it was very much, for me, it was just that it was a bad film. Like this was a classic bad film. There was clearly issues in production. Like just
16 producers on set at all times, they said.
that's fucking ridiculous. Like I mean, just this movie felt like it was being torn apart. The thing that really got me, the thing that just made me crack the shits was that, you know, the villain was utterly unconvincing.
Who's the villain again?
Who was the villain? Oh, Mila Jovovich.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
She's terrible.
Oh, God.
Terrible.
She's having a bit of fun.
The dialogue in that was just disgraceful.
Remember that opening scene?
Yeah,
It was
bad.
like, chuk, 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 chuk. And I was like,
my
what is
editing
going
like in a tree.
on?
Do you remember that?
I remember watching that movie. I
remember you looked at me and I was like,
Yeah,
it's going to be okay, man.
because
So
like,
weird.
I hate how many times I've said this tonight, but yes, I'd been drinking a lot, and I was like, "How fucked up am I? Or is this movie like moving at an impossible
'cause
pace
you looked
to
at both
keep
of
up
us and
with?"
you were like, "Is this just me?" I'm like, "No, no, no.
Is this
this
real?
is bad."
No, this is real life, man.
Yeah.
Is this just fantasy?
Like, I just felt like I was caught in a landslide.
Oh, I don't know the next lyric.
No escape from reality.
The
Because you're too much of a metalhead.
If we do some kill switch. Hate by design.
but this movie
destroying.
was, and one of the really bizarre things is that I think either just before or just after, because we had talked about what was that Vin Diesel film, Last Witch Hunter?
yeah.
Because we had talked about it in the lead up to it.
Oh, that's
I had
right.
watched it.
No.
That's right.
And
Did you watch it before or after?
I can't remember.
I think you watched it after.
Was it?
I think you
No,
did,
I
man.
think it was actually before because
I think
when
you
were
watched it
talking about
during.
Yeah.
talking about it. Well, I might as well have.
Well, that's why you hated Hellboy, man.
Because what I realized is that Last Witch Hunter is a good version of Hellboy, and that is a terrifying
That's a
indictment of that
mindfuck.
film.
Oh,
That is not what you want on the poster. Like a shit version of the Last Witch Hunter.
Remember Ian McShane's last appearance in the film, where he's like a floating head on this horrible vomit CGI
Yeah.
body?
Oh my god!
That
what
was
were they thinking?
Horrendous. So a big part of why this movie failed so hard, I think, well, there's so many factors, but Neil Marshall, director, ran away with that actor who was tied up in all of that controversy. That actress who, remember I showed it. She did the pop song.
Oh my
Thing.
god! The music video that was just
That
mean Brie
terrible
Larson's
music
terrible
video. The what?
Brie Larson's
No,
terrible
no,
music
like
no,
that.
no,
Remember the one we watched? It was
the overtly sexual. She was sleeping with one of the heads of
Yeah,
Oh
Brett
my
Ratner or some
God.
Yeah,
shit.
and-
yeah.
She had
So
that
she
music
was she
video?
figured into this as well.
Does she?
Yeah,
oh
yeah,
my
yeah.
God,
So
the plot
apparently
thickens.
Neil Marshall like fled this production and just had no post production.
He's just like, I'm gonna get me some.
out of there. Yeah, for
forgot
her,
about that
He went off. So
video.
he ran off with the girl.
yeah,
Fuck.
yeah, they're like together now.
Classic Scotsman.
Crazy.
Shout out to all our Scottish fans.
I just had to bring that up. I don't know how we can link
it without.
this video.
I actually
yeah.
don't want to send people to that
I
video.
need
like-
everyone to watch this because I've had it inflicted to me.
Can you send it to me? I will put it in the show notes.
Fuck yes.
Yes. Check the comments or show notes, whatever the fuck they are.
Yeah.
the description.
Just like if there's any text associated with this video, go there.
That
It's
bad.
amazing. That is the worst film of this year.
And let's be honest, Brie Larson's song that you sent us as well, that was
very bad too, yeah.
horrible. Yeah, as a Hellboy man, like as a Hellboy fan, that was bitterly disappointing. And
Hugely, yeah.
like even the Baba Yaga scene was dope, you know, like it got really fucked up. Like the kids in the back room, like
Yeah.
like there's a kernel of something really great
Yes.
in Hellboy, and it didn't come together.
Well, you also can do so much with it, like the folklore aspect of it, the kind of grotesque, body horror aspect of it. Like,
Yeah.
you have this almost like near endless.
That's the thing,
just
man.
playground.
100%. Because like
Del
Hellboy.
Toro did it well. Like
Yeah.
Del Toro, like he jumped. I
The
still
first one's kind of like steampunk Nazi, and then the Golden Army is kind of like more fantasy based.
Fantasy, yeah. I still
and that's
remember
the beauty
the-
of Hellboy is it can evolve across
Be anything.
decades.
that ferry market in Hellboy 2,
Yeah, the
where he
troll
goes
market.
in, troll market,
Brilliant.
and he goes in, and then there's that little council of elves type thing. I was like,
Brilliant.
fuck, this is like
Yeah.
such a cool, well thought out, little fantasy type,
Felt real,
Yeah.
felt tangible,
visceral, and this movie just didn't feel any of that. And I don't want to like say it's bad because it wasn't Del Toro. I'm just saying that Del Toro did it better.
Did it better.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was higher on my list because David Harbour, as much as I thought he really struggled with that makeup, like I really thought they fucked him over hard with that shit. I thought he was kind of endearing. I don't know.
I liked him.
I
in
would have
this.
liked him. Like I feel like in a better made movie, he would have been really good.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. Georgie?
Number one. I said Hellboy. Hellboy's my number two.
Yeah. So it's number one.
All right, number one. I'm up.
Yeah. I think-
My number one is surprising nobody. Gary's Men in Black International.
So that's my number
Yeah.
one as well.
That's your number one.
Yeah, I had to chuck that here because of my breakdown on the review.
And it's number one not because it is the worst film, but because it is the least remarkable or
Yes.
least anything film that I have seen this year.
Least anything film. That is the only words you ever need to hear about Men in Black
Least
International.
anything.
I mean,
Could you get that on the
Least
poster?
anything.
I
yeah.
was like, I think I was trying to find something good about it because I think that there was at least certain parts that I felt sort of good when watching it.
Yeah.
But honestly, nothing. There was not enough good aspects of that film to make me remember it effectively.
Yeah, like it wasn't excruciating me watching it, and that's what I look for in a bad film. That's what you want in a bad film. Is
Even
something
Hellboy.
something memorable.
Yeah.
Yeah, something that you can be like, "Holy
Yeah.
fuck,
See,
what was that?"
That's the thing. Hellboy is a bad film.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hellboy is plagued by production issues. The story doesn't work. Some of the visuals don't work.
And Men in
Like,
Black
that's-
is just a film.
A film.
It is the most
cookie
blank
cutter.
slate fucking movie
Yeah.
you've ever seen in your life.
like we said before. Take an IP, fucking cookie cutter the shit out of it. Let's get some popular actors in there. Let's make a generic script.
Yeah.
Let's make sure that we get Hemsworth in some sexy clothes and
Yeah, the
all
most
that kind of shit.
the most paint by numbers movie I've possibly ever seen. Like the like I mentioned in the review, it just really made me so angry against blockbuster filmmaking. Like this felt like the most cynical. Like most movies I can find something positive to say about. This movie felt like no one involved had any interest in making something exceptional. There was not one department of this film that was like, let's give it our all. It was all just like, let's push this out.
Like I said, a lot of the films that were either higher on my list or kind of just didn't make either of my lists, they had something about them that made them really stand out. Like I said, Alita Battle Angel has a lot wrong with that film. But it's got a there's obviously aspects of that film that are really cool.
Yeah.
And it definitely saves it from being
Yes.
in my bottom 5. Like, the same thing with,
Like the scene with Jackie L. Haley.
Haley
in
underneath the bar,
That's
yeah.
a killer action sequence.
Fantastic.
Fucking awesome.
And
I
that
rarely
alone-
see a movie that I don't have something really good to say about.
Yeah.
Like it's
And it's
something.
the same thing with, like-
Honestly, I've never seen you like this.
I think
ever.
I know what's going to be in your worst spot,
Mm.
but like that movie, if I'm right, had good enough moments about it, and had like that. I'm like, oh yeah, like
Well, let's find out, shall we?
yeah. Well, what's your last one?
Number 1, Bird Box.
Never mind.
The
What?
Bird
Wow.
Box challenge. Yeah.
Also,
Holy
isn't-
shit!
Yeah,
Wasn't Bird
what did you
Box
think?
last year?
I'm very
What
surprised
did
by
you?
this.
What did you think it was going to be?
I thought it was going to be Toy Story.
Toy Story.
Um,
no.
Oh, so did I. How was that not in your bottom 5?
And also,
Listen,
Bird
like
Box.
me. Okay, put it this way:
Disney shill.
the reason why Toy Story 4 is in there is because Disney's paying me a lot of money.
Very fair.
Yeah.
Very fair.
No, because like I know I am unreasonable with Toy Story 4. I know like I'm not
I love
coming at
that
it
self-reflection.
from a very objective. I have bringing so much subjectivity. I'm bringing so much disdain to the idea. I'm not really able to really review that properly, I feel.
Fuck Toy Story. We gave a pretty good, nice review to Bird Box. What happened?
Bird Box, man.
Did you watch it again?
Bird fucking Box. The Bird Box challenge.
Wow.
Like, did we give a nice review? to
Sorry,
that?
can I just
No.
be very clear about this?
We were very-
That was a 2018
It came out in 2018?
Yeah. You guys reviewed it in 2018.
We reviewed it this year. I counted it this year. That this has
It would have been around Christmas, right?
Nope. It would have been. It would have been in January.
It would
Let's
have
look
been
at the
early January
publication.
because that's definitely a
Yeah.
2018 film.
Let's have a
Definitely
look.
not
Release date
2019.
the 4th
Connor's
of
angry.
January. The 4th of January that
4th of
came
It
out.
says
Jan.
right here, 2018. Initial release, 14th of December.
Well, our review came out the 4th of January.
Yeah, but it
So
would
we
have
watched it on the 3rd of
it
January.
would have been like 3 weeks old then.
Well, yeah, fair enough, man. I was just literally
Okay,
going
no,
through our
that's fair.
reviews.
Like, yeah,
I went
yeah,
through
yeah.
our reviews, what we've done in
Cool.
the first 6 months. So I didn't put Aquaman
We'll let
in
it.
any
We'll
of
let
them.
it slide.
Bird Box.
We'll allow
man.
it, Georgie.
The Bird Box
Yeah.
challenge.
I mean, there's always got to be at least. I mean, George has been the biggest offender in this whole process because he put a series in here in our best of, and he's put a 2018
Yeah,
film.
you're
in.
innocent of that, Connor.
I'm just ruining
Let's
everything.
shut the fuck up because I'm so curious about how this got to number 1.
Bird Box is very like in my mind. It's plagued by that last 30 minutes, man.
Huh.
Like that last 30 minutes is just horrible.
Yeah.
And then finding out where the book goes,
Yeah.
that's disappointing. And then also like the way the creatures were handled and then seeing the CG and there really is only one good scene in Bird Box. It's the scene in the hospital.
The beginning, yeah.
And then the rest of it but it falls into that it's so bad it's good sometimes.
Scene in the river.
Scene in the River's
Some
cool.
good stuff there, yeah.
John Malkovich is hilarious in
Yeah,
it,
he's
hilariously
good.
bad.
Yeah, okay.
Like it's just a bizarre film that's like feels like 7 things ratcheted together and
Yeah.
Bird Box turns up at the end and I just can't say it's a good film and I'd say probably like within Hellboy the really like to be perfectly honest when I'm looking at my list and how I'm feeling about everything, I probably should have swapped Men in Black International and Hellboy because really the top spot is between those two.
Yeah.
And when we're talking about the top spot, we're talking about top spot in the worst of the year. Yeah, Bird Box, man. It's just like
Wow.
you know what it is? It's kind of like that Netflix trend of that really kind of mediocre piss
Yeah.
week horror film that
I can definitely say I did not expect to hear this movie tonight.
that's good.
I mean, particularly because again,
but yeah,
it's a
'cause I'm like,
2018 film.
I'd forgotten about
I'm
it.
so glad you thought Toy Story 4 was going to be my...
Well,
I
'cause you
didn't think it was going to be
railed
number
on it.
1. I did think it was going to be in bottom
Yeah.
5, but I forgot about
I
it.
couldn't put it in there because I can see the craft. Like I can see
Yeah.
the concepts, the story. It's all there. The
And
performances.
they gave it a go.
But yeah, it's just
Okay.
me being an asshole with that one.
Ratchety old man type thing. Yeah.
Old man
Men in
shouting at a
Black should have
cloud.
been all of their number 1.
Yeah.
Definitely should have. Yeah. So I mean, what a bombshell for
I'm
a
so
final.
glad. I'm so glad I fucking threw that in there.
Whoa.
Spanner in the wheel.
Shocking.
Yeah. No, didn't not You decent with Bird Box?
I think you should listen to our review because I think we were pretty moderate on it.
We were very moderate.
Yeah, and again, like you said, the kind of opening, the beginning was so strong that the rest, not being amazing, was not enough to sink it for me. Like I thought it was kind of watchable at least.
I guess just like, looking at all of the films we reviewed this year, like that was just the one that
Yeah.
just kind of hit the bottom.
Wow. Very interesting.
Yeah. So we got some honorable mentions, folks.
No, actually, I'm so happy to say I don't have any.
I don't have any either.
I
Wait, can you read your list out one more time, Benny?
Okie dokie, sir. I had Velvet Buzzsaw,
Yep.
Hellboy, Brightburn,
Yeah.
Glass, Men in Black International. So I had 4 of
An
yours.
honorable mention for me is definitely Glass.
Okay.
Glass is 100% an honorable mention.
Should have been on the list.
Shoulda, coulda, woulda. That could have been an awesome trilogy.
Yeah.
Unfortunately,
Is
it turns
not.
into
It's completely tainted.
two
Yeah, that's
films that are separate from each other.
That's what I
have
wanted
no
to say.
relationship with
That's
each
what I
other.
wanted to say is that movie really tainted the prior two for me. And
did.
I know, Connor, you're good at separating shit like that. You can survive that stuff. For me, I'm like, it's inextricable.
Yeah.
That movie ruined
which
it
is
for
good
me.
because you don't generally go back to film. So
Yeah.
Ever.
ever.
Any honorable mentions on your end, Connors?
I kind of did. I mean, I said Alita Battle Angel in my honorable mentions for best films. Alita Battle Angel also deserves an honorable
Hell
mention
yes.
for worst films.
Yes.
The ultimate middle ground film.
No,
the
it's the
romance,
exact opposite.
the romance in that film,
Terrible.
fucking
Oh.
ridiculous. So
Horrific.
bad.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
The kid.
The build up, like I mean,
That shitty guy who was revealed to be a bad guy and she was still into him. I'm like, this is the wrong direction movie.
also the like Christoph Waltz, like what a fucking waste of a good actor.
Oh my God. I watched Inglourious Bastards in a cinema the other day. That dude has been so wasted by Hollywood.
Oh,
Literally, his
so
only other good
egre-
role was Django Unchained.
Yeah, it is so
And
egregious.
maybe Green Hornet. I kind of liked it.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, like that, like the what he was given to work with, like I mean, the overall story arc was just such a mess, and like the development of the characters, like that movie has to be mentioned in terms of bad films this year.
Yeah.
Does it like and as I said, it also deserves to be mentioned in best films just because of that really cool action stuff. What was another one that I had?
What was your bottom five again, Connor? You just
My
read
bottom
them out?
five was Dark Phoenix, Hellboy, Men in Black, Detective Pikachu, and Glass. Not in that order.
Yeah, see, I would definitely not put Dark Phoenix in my honorable mentions.
Not
So
pick-
I'd probably just
Really?
say
At all?
no.
I mean, it's not a good film.
I really enjoyed that movie. Acknowledging that at least half of it is really bad, I really enjoyed it.
That's a weird thing to say. Yeah. No, but I mean, like, I get what you mean.
Yeah,
But,
because
like,
because
in
unlike
my-
so
in
many
my
of the movies
mind-
we've talked about tonight, there were highs and lows to it, you know? So there was enough good in there for me to really latch onto.
Yeah. There was ones that I was debating about putting in. Aladdin made me feel uncomfortable.
Oh, that's what I wanted to talk about.
Aladdin.
40% of Aladdin is the worst movie I've seen this year.
Yeah. So
100%.
40%.
So Aladdin falls into the
40%,
same-
100%.
40% of the time, 100% the worst
of
film.
the time, yeah.
The Aladdin falls into a very similar category as Alita, where I feel as though there's parts of that movie that probably deserve to be certainly not in the top 5, but discussed in the overall like what are
Better
some
than
good
most of the
films?
blockbusters.
Yeah.
Surprisingly better than most
Yeah.
of the blockbusters we've seen this year.
But
But at its worst, it was the worst thing I've sat through this year.
the thing that really got me was that there was for a good chunk of this film, there was a sense of uncomfortableness or uneasiness that really plagued me throughout this film. And
Talking about Dark Phoenix?
no, Aladdin.
Aladdin, yeah, oh, fuck.
And so
Aladdin.
you were the most
George's
positive
favorite
out of all
movie.
three.
Yeah,
of
I can't
us.
believe you
were,
didn't
like,
mention this
Super
on
positive.
your
No,
top
no,
list.
like, fuck yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
okay.
fuck
I
yeah, Aladdin.
Like that movie gave me some like I don't want to say it was an anxiety, but like it would like that. It felt wrong, and for me that was like, yeah, I don't know. That was just I was not overly impressed with that.
Yeah, I didn't hate Aladdin, but it's fucking faded from my memory, and
You loved Aladdin.
my kid is going to be raised on the
Animated.
OG.
Yeah. Good.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Good.
No, there's no
You
live
talking about
action
your
film.
cats?
Yeah.
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 There's no live action film that would preface over the animated films. I mean, just no way.
I think it could be a cool thing to show, kids be like, hey, here's the same story told in 2 different ways.
Here's a shit version of it.
I'm going to say honorable mention for me, Godzilla King of the Monsters.
Wow.
Yeah.
No
Like,
worse.
Yeah.
Rude.
yeah. Like, it's not in the bottom, but that second viewing was rough, man. That was rough.
Terrible.
But the movie did give me a new appreciation for, or an unfounded appreciation for the Godzilla franchise, and I want to investigate more.
Cool.
So there's some positive to come out of it.
All right.
Anything else, folks? Hey, listen, it's been a really good front half of the year for us. Probably our best 6-month period since starting the podcast.
For the podcast, yes. For
Yeah.
movies, no. Worst year.
I mean,
worst
honestly,
year.
this year has been so weird in the sense that the movie that I feel the most strongly about has definitely been Endgame, because I think that that's such a monumental milestone that, it is unlike any movie that we've had previously, maybe apart from Infinity War, just in what it's achieved. But apart from that, I feel like a good chunk of the movies this year have just been really middling, like
So
movies that
average.
should have been
This
good,
has been the
were
worst
average.
year in memory for me.
Listen to some ones
We say
didn't-
that every year, though.
Let's put
No. I honestly feel like the last couple of years, George has been saying are the best years for movies ever, and I've not been completely disagreeing. I think you've been saying that
I've
every
been saying
year,
that since 2009.
and I've been
since we
I've been
first
like
started
half
hanging
agreeing
out.
every year. This year, I'm like, actually, no, this is
Yeah.
really fucking
Yeah.
average.
But yeah, like literally thank you guys for listening in at home, because whilst maybe the movies haven't all been there, everything is looking really strong for us.
We've been great.
We've tried.
been terrific.
We've tried our absolute best, and the numbers are looking really great. YouTube's growing fantastically.
I don't tell you enough, Ben, that you are just genuinely amazing.
Fuck yes.
Stop derailing my thanks to the folks out there listening in every week.
I'm giving Ben a thanks. He's your friend. Doesn't he deserve it?
He's
I
my
don't tell
real
you enough,
friend.
Connor, that I don't hate you.
I find you slightly less annoying than I did last year. But
Let's
only
not
very
get crazy.
slightly,
Let's
yeah.
not get crazy.
I'll be able to stand more than like an hour with you by next year, hopefully.
We'll see.
Not
Anyway,
yet,
that was fun,
not
guys. I've been really looking forward to this episode. So, hey.
Your final remarks just got such petered
Yeah,
out.
I'm-
You're like, fuck all of it.
yeah, I can't finish this anymore. So,
But yeah, a genuine thank you to everyone that's been
Yeah.
listening, and particularly people that have commented or
Some of you.
messaged, or not everyone that's commented. Some of you are
yeah,
terrible.
people who commented on the Captain Marvel review, fuck you.
Actually, sorry, that was one last thing before we sign off. One of the big controversial films, and I think the biggest discrepancy between our review and perhaps some of the other people that were out there, was Captain Marvel, which is something that has not entered the conversation at all. It didn't get mentioned in the top. It didn't get mentioned in the bottom. We have not mentioned that word
very
at
odd.
all.
The two most controversial reviews we've had this year in terms of comments and
Godzilla.
downvotes, Godzilla and Captain Marvel. And really, when you listen back to our Captain Marvel review, we were fucking happy as Larry.
Yeah.
We were
And,
really positive on that film.
I think it's just one of those cases where sometimes you come out of a film, and I think Marvel films are really great on that initial run, but then like a couple weeks passed,
Yeah,
and
you're like, oh.
you're like,
Yeah.
yeah.
You
Yeah,
get
it's
caught
not
up in the
good.
hype of it. You get caught up in I still don't
Disney
think it's a-
invites you to a screening,
Yeah.
and you're like, woohoo, I'm important.
they give you $1,000. You're like,
Yeah.
Yeah, you're like,
Yeah.
Slip it
I'm
under the table.
man.
No, I genuinely don't think. I still don't think it's a terrible film.
No.
Like, it would never enter my
It's not
bottom
terrible.
5.
No, it's right in the middle there.
Not good.
In the MCU
But
rankings,
yeah, exactly. It's not. It doesn't deserve praise, but it doesn't deserve too much scrutiny.
But
So,
in the
like,
MCU rankings, it's right in the middle, bottom middle. For
oh, I
me.
will put it low.
I'd put it bottom middle.
Yeah, bottom middle.
So like that's the lowest quarter,
Yep,
maybe the middle of the lowest quarter. I don't know.
that's it.
But yeah, it's weird
love
because
those hand
that
gestures.
movie for me took such a dip, and I'm usually someone that would like. I would probably go the opposite way. Like if a lot of the commenters or a lot of the people
Yeah.
kind of critically are going like, this is shit,
You'll
particularly
go the other way,
whatever,
yeah.
I'd be like, nah, fuck you, it's good. But this one,
So
I
you're
just
like,
kind of,
yeah.
yeah, I was like, it might not be great. In fact, it might not be good.
Yeah.
Boo.
Yeah. But guys, yeah, thank you so much for listening in. We've got a lot of plans for taking this shit to the next level. We've implemented our new studio. We've got boom arms now. It's been a really great first half of the year, so I'm very excited for the back half. And we've got plenty of movies on the way, so we're going to be talking about it.
And we'll have a couple of new faces in the next couple months.
No, unacceptable.
Yeah, I mean, unless you want to do the podcast from Japan.
I'll do it. I'll
yeah.
fucking do it.
Let's fucking do it,
Yeah.
man.
Skype me in.
Ben's going to Japan. I'm going to Canada.
George is staying here.
George is boring
I'm
as
literally
fuck.
not leaving the seat. So I just wait for you guys to turn up every week. I'm
Basically,
sitting here
yeah.
like, come on.
Where's my friend?
It's 6:30.
Oh.
That was fun, fellas. We've drunk a few beers. It's been good. We'll be back for the end of the year. We'll be back for Spider-Man Far From Home on Monday. And here we go. Thanks, Connor.
Bye, George.
Thanks, Benny.
Goodbye, everyone.
Thanks,
Bye,
mate.
Ben. Goodbye, everyone.
Forever.